The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my Ford struggling to keep up. Chicago in November was always a bleak affair, but tonight the weather seemed to mirror the storm brewing inside me. My name is Griffin, and until recently I thought I had it all. A great job as a software architect, a comfortable home in the suburbs, and a wife, Imogen, whom I adored. I'm 44 and Imogen is well. She's always been a bit younger, a free spirit which I loved about her. We'd been married for 12 years, and while things weren't always perfect, we were happy, or so I thought. The first crack in the facade appeared about 6 months ago. Imogen started working late more often. She's a marketing manager for a large pharmaceutical company, and she explained it away with new projects and demanding deadlines. I didn't think much of it at first. I've had my share of late nights too. But then came the subtle changes. The way she'd flinch when I touched her, the lack of intimacy, the guarded phone calls she'd take in another room. I tried to talk to her about it, but she brushed it off, telling me I was being paranoid. "Don't you trust me, Griffin?" she'd ask, her eyes wide with feigned innocence. And I did, or at least I wanted to. Then came the business trip. Imogen was scheduled to attend a conference in San Francisco for a week. I offered to drive her to the airport, but she insisted on taking an Uber, saying she had an early meeting. I kissed her goodbye, told her to have a safe trip, and watched her walk out the door. That was the last time I saw her as my wife, as the woman I thought I knew. 3 days later, I received an email from an unknown sender. The subject line was simply truth. Attached were two images. One was a photograph of Imogen, her arms wrapped around a man I didn't recognize, kissing him passionately in what looked like a hotel bar. The other was a screenshot of a text message exchanged between Imogen and the same man, filled with explicit and loving messages. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My world tilted on its axis, and I stumbled, grabbing onto the kitchen counter for support. I stared at the images, my mind refusing to accept what my eyes were seeing. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be Imogen, but it was. I spent the next few hours in a daze, replaying every moment of the past few months, searching for clues I had missed, for signs I had ignored. The late nights, the guarded phone calls, the lack of intimacy, it all made sense now, a sickening puzzle coming together. I tried calling Imogen, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I left a message, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Imogen, call me. We need to talk." I knew deep down that a conversation wouldn't fix this. The trust was broken, shattered beyond repair. I decided to do some digging. I recognized the hotel bar in the photograph. It was in a trendy district of San Francisco, not far from the conference center. I called the hotel, pretending to be a colleague of Imogen's, and asked if she was staying there. The receptionist confirmed that she was, and that she had checked in with a guest. The name of the guest, Kendrick, I didn't recognize the name. Who was Kendrick? I scoured Imogen's social media, her contacts, everything I could think of, but found no trace of him. He was a ghost, a phantom who had stolen my wife. The next morning I called a private investigator. I'd never done anything like that before, but I was desperate. I needed to know everything. I needed to know who Kendrick was, how long this had been going on, and why. His name was Errol, a burly man with a no-nonsense attitude. I hired him on the spot. Errol got to work immediately. He tracked Imogen's phone records, her credit card statements, everything. Within a few days, he had a dossier on Kendrick. Kendrick was a consultant from a rival company based in New York. He was married with 2 children. He and Imogen had met at a conference in Miami 6 months earlier and had been having an affair ever since. The business trip to San Francisco was just an excuse to spend a week together. I felt a surge of anger, a white-hot rage that threatened to consume me. I wanted to confront them, to scream, to break things. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. I needed to be smart, to think clearly. Errol also uncovered something else. Kendrick had a history of affairs. He was a serial cheater, a predator who preyed on vulnerable women. I felt a flicker of something else, a sense of pity for Imogen. Had she been manipulated? Had she been blinded by his charm? It didn't excuse her actions, but it made me see her in a different light. I decided to wait for Imogen to come home. I wanted to see the look on her face when I confronted her with the truth. I wanted to hear her explanation, her excuses. I wanted to know why she had betrayed me. The day she was due to return, I cleaned the house, made dinner, and waited. I wanted to create a semblance of normalcy to lull her into a false sense of security. When she walked through the door, she looked tired but happy. She greeted me with a kiss, oblivious to the storm that was about to break. "How was the conference?" I asked, my voice calm and controlled. "It was great," she said, smiling. "I learned so much." I led her to the living room where I had laid out the photographs and the text messages on the coffee table. Her face drained of color when she saw them. Her eyes widened in horror and she stumbled backward as if she had been struck. What is this?" she stammered. "This is the truth, Imogen," I said, my voice cold. "This is what you've been hiding from me." She started to cry, to beg for forgiveness. She told me it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that she still loved me. But I didn't believe her. The trust was gone, irretrievably broken. I asked her about Kendrick, about how long it had been going on. She confessed everything, her voice choked with sobs. She told me about the conference in Miami, about how Kendrick had pursued her, about how she had given in to temptation. She said she regretted it, that she wanted to make things right, but it was too late. "I can't do this anymore, Imogen," I said, my voice shaking. "I can't be with someone I don't trust." I told her I wanted a divorce. She pleaded with me to reconsider, to give her another chance, but my mind was made up. I had spent the last 12 years of my life building a life with her, and she had thrown it all away for a fleeting affair. I asked her to leave. She packed a bag and walked out the door, her face streaked with tears. I watched her go, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. I was free, but I was also alone. The next few months were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and heartache. The divorce was messy and painful. Imogen fought me on everything, trying to get as much money as she could. I refused to give in. I wasn't going to let her profit from her betrayal. Eventually, we reached a settlement. She got half of our assets, but I kept the house. It was a small victory, but it was enough. After the divorce was finalized, I decided to move on with my life. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours at the office. I started going to the gym, trying to get back in shape. I reconnected with old friends, going out for drinks and dinners. I even tried dating, but it was difficult. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was damaged goods, that no one would ever trust me again. One evening, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering it. "Hello," I said. "Is this Griffin?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, it is," I replied. "This is Gwyneth," she said, "Kendrick's wife." My heart skipped a beat. What did she want? "I know about the affair," she said, her voice trembling. "I know everything." We talked for hours that night, sharing our stories of betrayal and heartbreak. We discovered that we had a lot in common. We had both been blindsided by our spouse's infidelity. We had both been left feeling lost and alone. We decided to meet for coffee the following week. When I saw Gwyneth, I was struck by her beauty and her strength. She had been through hell, but she was determined to rebuild her life. We started spending more time together, talking, laughing, and supporting each other. We found comfort in each other's company, a sense of understanding that we couldn't find anywhere else. Slowly but surely, we started to heal. One day, Gwyneth and I were talking about Kendrick and Imogen, wondering if they were still together. We decided to do some research. We found out that Kendrick had been fired from his job after his affair with Imogen was exposed. His wife had left him, taking the children with her. He was living in a small apartment, struggling to make ends meet. Imogen had also suffered the consequences of her actions. She had been ostracized by her friends and family. She had lost her job. She was living alone, miserable and alone. Karma, it seemed, had finally caught up with them. Gwyneth and I continued to grow closer. We started dating, and eventually we fell in love. We found happiness in each other's arms, a love that was built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. We got married a year later in a small ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. It wasn't the life I had imagined for myself, but it was a good life. I had found love again after being betrayed and broken. I had learned that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a new beginning. I look back on those difficult times and I am grateful for the lessons I learned. I am grateful for the strength I found within myself. And I am grateful for Gwyneth, the woman who showed me that love can conquer all, even betrayal. Life has a funny way of working out. Sometimes, what seems like the end is actually just the beginning. Never give up on hope and always believe in the power of love. You never know what the future holds, but if you stay true to yourself, you will find your way. And to those who have been betrayed, know that you are not alone. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Keep walking and you will find it.